going on to the next one, Victoria, you had asked about the required sources of information. Post lays these out, and they say that you'll find these on page 50 of your handouts. Post stipulates that there are 5 areas that you have to gather information from. One is job information. The other are written assessments, and there's some requirements related to those. Personal history information, clinical interview, and, as needed, psychological records. Now, yes, Victoria?
And I don't know, I think this fits in here. One of my agencies is a university, and their HR department decided that any information they provided was a violation of the person's rights.
An agency decided that any information they gave you was a violation of the applicant's rights?
Right.
Well, they should talk to Post. I would just say, you know, work it out with the state.
And I just did.
You know, you may honestly, you have to help. You have to educate them about it, because that kind of thinking is very, very old, and it's not consistent at all with the Post standards. And they may simply be ignorant about the evolution of the standards of practice.
I just also had a department where I evaluated an incoming chief, and got nothing but the Post personal history statement. And I said, "Didn't you do a background?" "Yes, but we don't think that everybody should see it."
Well, I would agree, everyone shouldn't see
Right,
it,
but
but the psychologist isn't a part of the,
And I didn't have a
shouldn't be
past
excluded.
relationship, so I didn't argue. What I did do, on the cover letter, I always put this is based on, and I said there was no independent information provided.
Yeah, you can do that, but the alternative is to say, I can't do the evaluation
Right.
without the data that Post stipulates I should have.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes you have to make a decision as to whether you want to play hardball with your agency, and you know, that's not a. As an example, we have the VA police. How many of you do VA police? It's a very, very strange world, and one of the it's a very strong union, and you have to keep in mind that these were until 2003, I believe. The VA police carried non-lethal weapons only. In 2003, post 9/11, they're issued firearms. And one of the requirements was that they be evaluated annually to determine whether they meet the medical qualifications that include psychological and physical. So they do a pre-employment psychological evaluation, and that's a standard evaluation, the pre-employment psychological evaluation. You don't get any background investigation in a VA police applicant. Anybody care to guess why? Those who know, please don't answer. Anybody care to guess why? Because there's no background. The background may take 1 year after they're hired for the Office of Personnel Management to complete the evaluation. I think that's recently been changed to 6 months. Which means they're running around the hospital carrying a firearm without any background being done on them for some of these folks. And that's a very serious problem, and in some cases it has proven to be a very serious problem because they didn't have, even in some cases, some criminal history that they only discovered afterwards. Nonetheless, standard pre-employment evaluation, but for the fact that you don't get any background. So one of the caveats I put is just that I'm doing this evaluation, but understand this evaluation doesn't even conform to the standards of practice because the federal government won't give me what I need. Now I say it more gently than that. But I'm not going to do an evaluation and present it as a standard evaluation when it doesn't conform. But there's nothing anybody can do about it. It cannot be done because there is no background. Now, afterwards, they're hired and you do the annual evaluation. Here's where it gets really screwy. The rules negotiated between the union and the federal government stipulates that you can only evaluate psychological suitability annually through an interview. No testing. Unless you have, they made this word up, an articulative basis. an articulative basis.
So somebody else wrote about it.
And then you can request that the examining physician give you permission, because the examining physician in the VA is God. And they make the determination. And they'll always say yes if you write them and say, but you have to have a basis for that. Well, what basis are you going to have? I mean, unless the person comes in and they're evidence of thought disorder, and, some sort of mood disorder. But if they're motivated to conceal, as most problematic functioning police officers are, if they're motivated to conceal their adaptation problems, then you're not going to know. So I decided this is crazy. I can't participate in this really bizarre system. I mean, I don't have a Ouija board. It's just not going to work. So what I said as a compromise I might do, and they've approved this, is I developed what we call a officer conduct survey. And there are 20 questions that I ask of the police department.
Of the department.
Of the department. Objective behavior involving disciplinary actions, involving complaints from patients and coworkers that have been investigated, evidence of impulse control and anger control and mood control problems. So I have these 20 questions that I ask, and they answer yes or no. There's evidence of a problem, there's no evidence of a problem, and if there is, they have to give me some explanation for it.
So this is the agency completing.
This is the agency, and it has to be completed under my rules within 10 days of the examination. So with 10 days of the examination, they fax this to me. I see the person, I do an interview, and now I have a list of things that are a problem, and I say, so how's everything been going the last year? How's Sally, how are the kids? Well, your kids must be, looking at my prior evaluation last year, 5 or 6 by now, right? Yeah. It was just about Christmas. How did things go? Everything was great. Any problems last year? Any performance problems? No, everything's been great. Really? Well, how about this investigation? Blah, 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 blah. Now, I may have, depending upon the facts, I may have an articulative basis now for requesting psychological testing, a more extensive examination. And then I can request it, and it can be done, and I have the grounds for doing it. So what I'm suggesting to you is, even when the rules stack up against you, you can still eke out more from the system in a way that's consistent with the rules, but you sometimes have to get a little creative.